Good afternoon. Happy Saturday to you, Dr. Preston Ray Winfrey. And what a joy and what a delight it is for me to have this privilege to come to where you are, to meet you in your place, no matter which device you find us on. Thank you for taking this time to tune in. And I love you on today. I pray that you're doing well and that you've had a great week. I have attended the convention this week and got a chance to visit with some family and friends and see some old acquaintances. And now we're back on the path, catching up with ourselves and on some things that we didn't quite get the opportunity to take care of this week. How are you on today? Hope and pray that you are doing well and that you, like me, clothed in your right mind, reasonable portion of health, your strength, the activity of your limbs, and that you have a made-up mind that you're going to go on and just see what's happening next. And that's what we do. It's a moment-by-moment situation. And I thank the Lord for the journey. I don't know about you, the journey comes with some ups and downs, some ins and outs, comes with some strengths, comes with some weaknesses, comes with some pros and cons, but that's part of the journey. And so we gladly accept the journey. We deal with it. You deal with what you have to deal with in life. And those things that you do not have to deal with, then wise are you when you can not deal with things that you don't need to deal with. Keep it simple, keep it 100, and you'll be all the better for it. Well, my topic today is God knows what He is doing. God knows what He is doing. We today are looking at all kinds of situations, and listen, the political scene is goofy. It is just so jacked up on one side, but then when you look at another side, look at another perspective, you say, hey, things are on the up and up. You look at what's going on with people and what they are doing, what they refuse to do, the chances that so many people take, the lives that are being just snatched away because of the carelessness of people who feel, I don't have anything to live for, and so I'll take out a few people and then I'll end my life. There are those who just don't get it. There are those who don't have a clue about life and what they need to be doing. And if you don't know who you are and what your purpose in life is, quite naturally, it's easy for you to become despondent, dismayed, and depressed and feel as though, I have no reason to live or to press forward. Pride and a haughty spirit is a terrible thing. As a matter of fact, those two things precedes a great fall. Scripture teaches that, and there are just too many people in life who is just filled with pride and arrogance, and they somehow have this high established opinion of themselves that only they hold, that they're good and everyone else are bad. That's so unfortunate, because remember, in life there's the bitter and there's the sweet, and within us is a balance, because we possess the good and the bad, the positive and the negative. But I'm referring now to those who are just arrogant and feel as though the sun evolves around them, that they are the ones, that without them, you would not exist. Without them, nothing would exist. And the only one that I know who fits that description is the Lord, who says, without me, you can do nothing. So pride and a haughty spirit, it precedes a great fall. And there are too many people who are just filled with pride. Don't you see them? Don't you hear them? As they boast and they brag and they want to somehow give people the opinion that whatever they do is on the up and up, and that, no one should question them, should question their motives, their integrity, or anything else. And I should tell you that no one is beyond checking every once in a while. It's so important for us to be checked. It's important for someone to be able to, no matter how powerful we are or perceive ourselves to be, there ought to be someone who can check us, someone who is unafraid and unashamed to tell us when we're going in the wrong direction. And if you just surround yourselves with people who will tell you what your itching ears want to hear, then that can really be grounds for calling you foolish. And what you're doing is setting yourself up for a great fall. There are those who feel as though they can't be stopped, and so they will come up with all kind of maneuvers and tricks and slogans and situations that they will create so that no one will challenge them, ask any questions, so that no one will dare to say you're off base. And while you may feel good saying, hey, no one checks me and everyone loves me, you're living, unfortunately, a life of delusions. And don't you know some delusional people today who's not in touch with reality? And so many of them just kind of go off. They just float off, drift away. And what do you do for a person like that? How can you reach out to them? You're reaching out, but they won't so much as give you their hand because they don't feel as though there's anything wrong with them. And so sometimes they're able to get by. They get by. They get by systems sometimes. They get by committees. Get by boards. Sometimes they get by so to the degree that they convince themselves that I'm invincible. I can't be touched. And it doesn't matter how much power you have. Someone once said that power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. Think just for a moment of those who may fit that description of having absolute power. Now we know that no one has absolute power but God. But I'm talking about those who have convinced themselves and done a pretty good job of convincing others that they're invincible and that they cannot be touched. Well, I should tell you, and when you get a chance, read over in the 4th chapter of the book of Daniel. King Nebuchadnezzar, who was big time, big man on campus, if you will, He had it all going on. And as far as he was concerned, like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. It was going the way I wanted it to go. And no one questioned him, no one challenged him. But the day came when he had a dream, he had gotten so beside himself, but he had a dream. He dreamt about a tree. And he was not able to interpret the dream, even though he had surrounded himself with his boys, if you will, magicians and soothsayers and wizards and all of these mucky mucks. But unfortunately, no one was able to interpret his dream about these trees. He said, yeah, I saw angels coming down and chopped off the trees. Good trees, solid trees. But there was no one. But he had learned that there was somebody within the parameters of the kingdom who had special abilities. And that person was, as we know him to be, Daniel. But then his Babylonian name was Belteshazzar. Yeah, and he was summoned, come in, I need for you to tell me what's up, what's going on. And by the grace of God, Belteshazzar gave the king the interpretation to this dream that he had. And he's letting him know that, dude, it doesn't look good. Let me just read a passage here from the book of Daniel, chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 13 and just let the text speak for itself. From the Living Bible. Then as I lay there dreaming, I saw one of God's angels coming down from heaven. He shouted, cut down the tree, lop off its branches, shake off its leaves, and scatter its fruit. Get the animals out from under it, and the birds from its branches. But leave its stump. Leave its stump. Leave the stump, if you will, and roots in the ground, banded with a chain of iron and brass, surrounded by the tender grass. Let the dews of heaven drench him, and let him eat grass with the wild animals for 7 years. Let him have the mind of an animal instead of a man, for this has been decreed by the watchers, demanded by the holy ones. The purpose of this decree is that all the world may understand that the Most High dominates the kingdoms of the world and give them to anyone he wants to, even the lowest of men. O Belteshazzar, that was my dream. Now tell me what it means, for no one else can help me. All the wisest of men of my kingdom have failed me. But you can tell me, for the spirit of the holy gods is in you. Daniel sat there stunned and silent for an hour, aghast at the meaning of the dream. Finally, the king said to him, Belteshazzar, don't be afraid to tell me what it means. Daniel replied, oh, that the events foreshadowed in this dream would happen to your enemies, my lord, and not to you. For the tree you saw growing so tall, reaching high into the heavens for all the world to see, with its fresh green leaves, loaded with fruit for all to eat, the wild animals living under the shade, with its branches full of birds. That tree, your majesty, is you. for ye have grown strong and great. Your greatness reaches up to heaven, and your rule to the ends of the earth. Then you saw God's angel coming down from heaven, saying, cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump and the roots in the earth, surrounded by tender grass, banded with a chain of iron and brass. Let him be wet with the dew of heaven for 7 years. Let him eat grass with the wild animals and the field. What Daniel wanted the king to know was that tree was him. The tree was King Nebuchadnezzar, who had, by the authority of God, God permits things to happen. Now, we don't always care for what God does. We don't always care for who God has put in office, nor who God has put in office historically. But listen, I want you to know God's business is God's business, and he knows what he's doing. Listen, I know it seems like sometimes even God has gone to sleep, and that God perhaps is not concerned. If you've ever entertained that thought, I want to encourage you that God is in charge. Listen, he knows everything. You may say, I'm dealing with a financial issue. I'm dealing with a medical issue. I'm dealing with an emotional issue. I'm dealing with a domestic issue. I'm dealing with family problems. Listen, can I tell you, it does not matter what your issues, what your woes are. There is a God, my God, who sits up high and he looks down low, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And he moves in his own time. No one can direct him. And listen, what God is going to do, nobody can stop him. In other words, he can open doors that no man can shut, and he can shut doors that no one can open. He can bring highways down and make crooked ways straight. He can give you sanity. He can cause you to be insane. That's what happened with King Nebuchadnezzar. Oh, I told you, he was full of pride and arrogance, and he thought because he was allowed to get away with so many different things that even God might have been afraid of him. But it was only a matter of time. First, God allowed King Nebuchadnezzar to have a dream, and this dream puzzled him. It befuddled him. This dream had him wondering what in this world is going on. Second thing that we learn in this lesson is God had someone already in place who would reveal to the king what the dream meant, who the dream was about. Daniel told the king, he said, I wish that this interpretation was about someone else. But unfortunately, king, it is about you. And this is what God is going to do. God is going to chop, as that you saw that tree being chopped. God is going to chop you. All of your majesty, all of your influence, all of your authority is going to get chopped. And people are going to see, when they began to wonder, where is that tall tree? When the birds who would get on the branches come, they're going to wonder what happened to the tree. And the wild animals who would take shelter under the branches, the leaves, they're going to ask, what happened? And what God is going to do, King, he reveals to him that God is going to send you out for 7 years. You're going to live like what you've been acting like a wild animal. And I'm going to cause your fingernails to grow like a parrot's or an eagle's paws, feet. You're going to grow claws instead of fingernails. You're not going to sit down and have caviar, grits, and the like. But your meal is going to be weeds and grass. Each morning, you're going to be soaked because of the dew that will fall upon you. Yes, I don't have to destroy you to correct you. And aren't you glad that the Lord does not destroy us? Some, perhaps, yes. But you and me, you're listening, you're watching. He didn't destroy you. You're still here. And no matter how bad you have messed up, you're still here. And that's something to be thankful for. Aren't you thankful today? Knowing that you messed up, that you wrecked things, knowing that you have affected others' lives and infected the future of others. And so Nebuchadnezzar had to live out in the wilderness for all of those years. But then after that time, God restored him to his right mind. Listen, you don't know how blessed you are to be in your right mind. You don't understand how blessed you are not to have someone to do a lot of the things that you are able to do for yourself. Oh, what a blessing. Nebuchadnezzar, after he had spent those 7 years in the wilderness, and I'm here to tell you, God will always make a way for you if you just trust him. Nebuchadnezzar, who was full of pride, full of anger, he now have come to his senses. And he says to others, listen, folks, I praise and extol and honor the King of heaven. All those words are true. And his ways, his judgment, and those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. Those who are proud, he's able to abase. In other words, if you were haughty, he's going to bring you down, and so it's best to humble yourself. King, no doubt, never thought of humbling himself until he was forced. And I want to close by saying, don't you be dismayed about those who brag and who say what they are not going to do and what they're going to have to put up with. My God is in control, and he knows those who belong to him. Do you belong to him today? And if so, are you glad you belong to him? Yep. Amen. So that's it for today, good folks. God knows what he's doing. He knows. And when there are those around you who feel as though God is on strike and evil is just going to reign and there's nothing that can be done, I want to urge you, keep your eyes open. Keep watching God and watch God work things out in a way that's going to bring glory and honor to his name. Until next time, this is Dr. Winfrey saying, be good to yourself, take care. God loves you, so do I, and remember, God knows what he's doing. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. And don't lean to your own understanding, but in all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Have a good day.